This summit is coming in a very important momentum when clearly Montenegro is doing very well. We have already approved the working party to start drafting the accession treaty. Last week we have a new intergovernmental conference with Albania, and the Commission this week proposed to close 3 chapters in the Albanian negotiations. We will discuss new proposals to accelerate this process to avoid precisely this idea that we are not going so well because it's not a reality, but it's very important to increase the trust in the European Union and increase also the motivation in the candidate states to be very clear that we are moving forward and we want to deliver on this process.
And you mentioned Montenegro. Of course, we've been in the streets of this beautiful town, and they all say it's 28 by 28. They believe they will hit this deadline. Is that the case when you've had your conversations bilateral this week?
Well, they are doing very well. Now it's possible to close half the chapters before summer. And then we have 3 very hard-working months to try to close by the end of this year. And of course, in 2027, the first half of the year, we are more focused on the elections in different countries. But for sure, the second part of the year, we can come back on this issue. And if everything is okay, it will be possible. It's not impossible to be the 28th member states in 2028.
And President, some would argue because enlargement is now needed, and you say it yourself, it is a geopolitical imperative, some suggest the time to really think outside of the box has really come. Enlargement will be about merit, but maybe perhaps it's time to look at solutions as reverse membership, perhaps step-by-step membership has been signaled. There's the idea of joining without a veto. What's thinking outside the box for you?
Now, there are different things. First, the process is merit-based and will remain merit-based. Other thing is to simplify the proceedings. Perhaps you can reduce the moments then we take decisions.
To streamline it.
To streamline it. This is one thing. Other thing, finally, is the transitional period. We learned from the previous enlargement process that we always adopted transitional clauses on policies like agriculture, freedom of movement, and so on. And now, because we are talking about a very challenging enlargement, perhaps we need also transitional clauses on institutional matters. But it's early to discuss this. But it's important, for instance, the President Vučić and Prime Minister Rama came publicly some months ago proposing some ideas, Chancellor Merz also, and for sure we will discuss a proposal from France and Germany to simplify the proceedings to move forward in this enlargement process.
What it says to me is that there is an appetite to explore different solutions. Is that something that you also feel? This perhaps there's not a landing zone yet, but ultimately that is a direction of travel.
No,
this enlargement will be different.
All of these discussions about the proceedings, about the transitional period, about the simplification of our rules to work, all of this shows our common ambition to deliver as soon as possible in this enlargement process. This shows the really will of the member states and also the candidates to join the EU and to achieve this enlargement.
And President, you have been on a tour of the region. You were in Serbia. You spoke with the Serbian President, Aleksandar Vučić. Of course, this is a country that is fundamental when you look at the Western Balkans, but some would argue, and the Commission says it openly, that not only the process is not moving ahead, there's actual serious backsliding in fundamental questions like the judiciary, the media, as you cited. These are key parts of a democracy. What was your one-on-one conversation with Aleksandar Vučić?
No, it's true that last January they stepped back on the judiciary, but now they are changing the law.
You're confident they will do it this time?
They are doing, and they are full committed to comply with the recommendations from the Venice Commission. The Venice Commission has a meeting the next 12th of June, and immediately after they will approve the new law to correct what they made in last January on the judiciary.
And do you trust that President Vučić will do it this time around? Because some would argue there has been many promises made in the past, but actually not delivered. When you sat down with him privately, did you make it clear it's you now that needs to move?
It's not a matter of faith. It's very simple. They know what they need to do, and we are here to verify if they do or if they don't do. If they do, we move forward. If they don't do, we're still blocked. My conviction is everybody understood this. There remains a problem with the body who needs to regulate the freedom of press. And this is an ongoing process with the civil society and with the government.
And you stress that to him?
Yes, of course.
And just on a different final point, now, of course, this week there has been major developments when it comes to Ukraine and Moldova, also by extension, on their negotiations, opening these formal talks. Now Hungary has dropped that veto. What does that mean for the European Union and ultimately for the three countries?
I think it's very important, first of all, for the bilateral relations between Hungary and the Ukraine. And Prime Minister Magyar announced that he believed that in 3 weeks they are in conditions to release the veto and we can move forward. We are very advanced, and I believe that it's possible to open and at the same time close immediately several chapters because they have already done what they need to do to close the chapters.
This is a huge symbolic moment for Ukraine. This process had been stuck for 3 years. This is, if it happens and materializes, is the start of something new. What does that say to you? Where is this union going? Does it mean it's a return to 27 unanimity? What do you read politically out of this?
Look, I believe that we don't need to have the unanimity to open chapters and clusters. We just need the unanimity to close chapters and clusters. Secondly, that the bilateral issues must be addressed for the different countries in order to don't block an entire process. And it's very positive that Prime Minister Magyar gave this clear sign that we are now leading with a new government, with a new policy in Hungary, and with the new attitude of Hungary in the European Union.
And just lastly, your final summit with Viktor Orban in attendance, you said nobody can blackmail the European Council. Do you feel validated?
Well, the Hungarians understood. If Viktor Orban believed that someone in Hungary will rewind him for try to block a decision of the European Council, he was wrong.
Well, President Costa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.